Conference will now be recorded.
Gary Nimitz, thank you for that email that you sent to Mike and I. That's really appreciated.
Sure.
Mike, you there? Okay, Mike. I can't hear you. We can't hear you at all.
Your mic is muted, Mike. It shows your mic is muted on the screen. There you go. Now speak.
Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Okay,
We got you.
Now I got to get this back up.
Mark Kramer, can you turn off your video or your background?
Okay, can you hear me and see the headlight thing now?
Yes, Mike.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Okay. I want to thank everybody that signed up, joined us this morning. We've had some technical issues the last couple of weeks. Me and Rick have been working on it pretty hard. John Wagner came in last night and kind of helped us, and I think we got everything ironed out. Hopefully everything goes smooth. Thanks, Rick and John, for all that. First thing I want to say is I'm no authority or don't know everything on all these subjects. So if you've got something or you know something or can add anything, feel free to speak up. That's the way we all learn. And if you got anything and would like to send it to me, any kind of information like that will really help in these. I keep my copies updated, and mine are a lot different than what's on the internet. So, yeah, anything you can send me, I always add stuff to them. We got another seminar coming up February 28th on labels, tags, and decals. Sign up will start tomorrow, February 1st. First session will be on C1s and C2s. We'll go from there. Quite a bit of information there. So, with all that said, I'll try and get started here on the lights. It's titled headlights, but it's covering all lights, tail lights, park lights, side markers, and all that. So here we go. 53s through 55s, all the front ends look the same. The headlights, stainless steel mesh screen over them. The same contour as the fender. They were 6-volt. They had metal backs. Markings top at the top and bottom had seal beam and guide below it. They were 7-inch diameter. There you can see the metal back. There was no alignment nubs on the early 6-volters, 12-volters. Some metal back to start with. There you can kind of see the markings at the top and the bottom. Hope you can see them okay. The park lights on the 53s through 57s were all the same. Basically, the molding or the trim ring around the outside was a little different later in 57. The lenses themselves were glass. 53s, 55s had black cork gaskets, where the 56, 57s had silver cork gaskets. Tail lights, license plate lights. Tail lights with the markings, better picture of the markings on the 53s, 4s, 5s. Side view of how they're mounted on the back of the car. The license plate lights was recessed. The license plate itself was recessed in the trunk lid. The lights were on the sides in the trunk area. Courtesy lights, 53s, 54s had glass lenses. All 53s, 54s, 55s had them. They were underneath the dash on both sides. 55, the V8 cars went to the 12 volt. It had that labeled in the middle of the lens. The glass backs were a little different than the metal backs as far as the markings in the middle. Earlier cars should have the metal backs, where the later cars should have the glass black backing. You can see there, I said earlier, that 12 volt in the middle, and it still had the top at the top and the seal beam and the guide at the bottom, like the 6 volters did. 55, the glass lenses changed to plastic. Early 55s, they have either. This was also the plastic lenses was used through 57. 56, 57 cars, headlights were extended to the end of the thing. They didn't have a guard on like the 53s through 55s. And up till 1957, regulations only allowed 2 headlights on the front. Starting in 57, you could have 4 headlights. Few manufacturers did put 4 headlights in 57. Most of them waited till 58 or later to put the 4 headlight system on the front. 56 lens, you can see in the center. It had a triangular logo with pebble grain, 12 volt underneath the top, 3/8 inch high letters, seal beam with guide at the bottom. There's a better picture of the pebble grain center logo and the light. See the seal beam at the bottom and the guide underneath, and you can also see the alignment nubs that were on the later, all the other glass headlights. The park and turn signals were the same as the earlier cars as far as the lens and the outer trim ring. You can kind of see the numbers on the lens itself there. The bezel should have a rounded shoulder to later in 57. Courtesy lights started in 56, became a true option. They were still plastic lenses as they were in the later in 55. The option was not called for. There was still a hole cut in the bottom of the dash. Tail lights changed considerably in 56, 57. License plate lights, because the license was on the outer part of the car. It was not recessed in the trunk like the earlier ones. Tail lights was used in 56 and 57, kind of recessed back in the fender. A close-up of the lens itself with the lettering. The license plate lights were now on the bumpers. There's the lettering on them. 57 headlight was very similar to the 56. Had the pebble grain in the middle. T3 logo, the pebble grain, 1/4 inch high tall seal beams, guide at the bottom. Park lights, here you can see the rounded corners versus the squared corners. I hope you can see the difference there. They say the change started around VIN 5057. 58, the Corvettes went to the 4 headlight system. The park lights were kind of down and recessed in the lower part of the front fascia. Of course, the headlights were smaller diameter with 4 of them across the front. 12 volt with 5 3/4 inch diameter guide above the triangle. There was no pattern in the triangle. It's just a clear background. That's versus the pedal grain that's earlier. With the 4 headlight system, you had a number 1 or a number 2 at the top. Number 1 was for low beams. Number 2 was for the high beams. Park lights, as you can see, was recessed back in, unlike the earlier cars where they were out on the front edge. Markings on the park lights. '58, the tail lights were kind of still recessed back in, but they had a covering put over the over the top of the open area. Had a metal trim strip down the center of the top. The lettering on the front edge. Metal strip coming down the top, how it ended at the back. And with the coverings over the taillights, they was not getting the reflection off that the government required, so they had to put a reflector below them. Very early cars did not have the reflectors. Started around VIN 286 and had some lettering on it. You can kind of see the lettering here at the bottom and at the top. The license plate lights were in the fender or in the bumperettes there, as they were in the 56, 57s. Same markings as 56, 57s as far as the lens lettering. A little better picture of the lettering on them. Courtesy light changed quite a bit in 58. They ran through 58 through 60. Rectangular with a white translucent plastic lens was mounted in the center of the dash above the radio. If the optional courtesy light option was not taken, then there was just a blank plate put over the hole. All holes were cut in there. You can also see the hole in front of that plate and the light. That was for the switch for the power tops, if that was an option. That was always cut in the dash also. There's a picture with a light on in one. Black lettering on the back of the glass, telling what the light was. 58, 59. Guide was still above the T3 triangle in the middle. Seal beam at the bottom. You can also see there in the by the seal beam the alignment nub sticking out. Should be kind of a ground flush flat. Blueprint for the lights. And how they were date coded. 5960 tail light, basically the same as the 58. License plate light was also basically the same. 60 through 67 headlights. T3 in a triangle, no background pattern. The guide located at the bottom above seal beam rather than above the triangle in the middle. You can see the guide there at the bottom with seal beam. Guide Seal beam was on both sides of the alignment nub, the guide above it. Number 1 or 2 at the top for the high beams and low beams, same as our earlier cars. '61, '62. Park lights, turn signals were still recessed back in as they were earlier. The 58s. Tail lights on the '61, '62 changed considerably. They were like the starting the Stingray rear end on them. The license plate light was no longer in the bumperettes; it was above the license plate. There you can see the tail lights in the back end. The trim, chrome trim pieces around the edge was different from the inside to the outside. They were a little bit different depth and so forth on them. Markings on the tail lights. License plate light was above the license plate. '61, '62, the lamp socket snapped in, was not attached like later C2s. You can see the prongs where it held in, where it was snapped in there. '63, headlights became retractable. Park lights is down on both outside corners. Electric motors moved the headlights buckets up and down. The park lights. You can see the guide and the F2 or F260 marking on that one real plain. Should all be the same 63 through 67. Tail lights. 63 standard tail lights was all 4 red. We'll get to the backup lights here in just a little bit. The license plate light was up above the plate as it was in the '61, '62s. C2 backup lights became an option late in '63, and '64 was an option, became standard equipment in '65, '66. Tail light recessed back in. Markings on the lenses. Backup light, you can see the markings kind of around the center on it. Also had a drain hole at the bottom with a little wick. There's the markings on the backup light. This is an original tail light versus a reproduction backup light, and you can see the size of the wick hole is quite a bit bigger on the aftermarket. The license plate light, the clear lens, the guide 60 with a part number on it, should have a half round frosted area offset from center. You can see the base of the lamp is fastened to the housing, unlike the '61, '62, where it was snapped in. Right there, you can really see the guide and the LI 60 markings by that screw hole. There's the part number there, and you can kind of see the frosted area off to the right corner there. Glove box light, 63s. Push button turned it on and off when the door closed. The zinc plated metal shield. Lamp number was 1893. There's a glove box open with the lid. The coupes had a halo light, a rectangular shape, ribbed translucent white plastic lens, tapered face, tapered rearward. Had a lamp number 90 inside it. Close up of the lens, you can kind of see it was tapered. The under dash lights was off the corner, both driver's side, passenger side, fastened up in the up to the top there. If it had AC, the lamp was attached to the AC tube coming over. You can see the passenger side fastened with an AC, with the AC there, fastened kind of to the tube. 67, the backup lights were standard, was a square rectangular opening over top of the license plate. You can see where it was at above the license plate light markings. There was a right and a left.
Mike,
Yes.
I got two questions. You want to pause here and answer them?
Okay.
John Foster wants to know, can we explain date codes on T3?
You can, but they're on the back where you can't see them unless you have the lens out or the bulb out. I don't know if that's what he was after or not, but yeah, there is a date code there. And that sheet I showed had told you how to read them, but you can't read them unless you got the lamp outside of the socket or outside the holder.
And Bob Kinstry's got, you stated backup lights was started in 65. I believe it was only in 66 before going to the 67 style.
From what I researched, I thought they were standard on 65, 66 is that they started, you could get them as an option in 63, 64. I'm not sure what he's after there. Maybe you can unmute him and he can talk.
Mike, I
Yeah.
think it's only 66 that they were standard. They were still an option in 65.
Okay. Like I said, I with all the information I go through, there's a good chance I screw up with some stuff. So if you see something, holler.
Okay, here's another one.
Yeah.
From Thomas Noel. Is there an interior light on the rear deck area on C2 convertibles?
Yes, I thought I had that in there, but I didn't see it come up. So I'm sorry about that. I guess I thought I had it in there, but I must have missed it.
Marvin Burke, I believe backup lights became standard in 66. They were part of Z01 Comfort and Convenience group in 65.
Okay.
63, 64 was T86 RPO.
Okay.
And Paul Kemmler, some late 67s had T3s with a straight background.
Okay.
And that's the one.
Okay. Thank you. Yeah, like I said, I try and research things the best I can, but and with all the information I go through, there's a real good chance I screw up quite a bit. Okay, here's the better.
You're doing a great job, Mike. Keep on.
The lens marking on the backup lights there on the 67. You got an R or an L for left or right. They went to red ink on the later lights rather than the black like on the earlier ones, from what I found out. 68s still had the hidden headlights. They were operated by vacuum starting at 68 rather than electric. Um, 68 through 71. A triangle with vertical lines, as somebody just said, they may have started in late 67. Guide at the bottom, a seal beam curve below that. 68, 69 park lights. clear lens. Guide 19 centered at the top. 68 started the side marker lights. Front ones were clear lenses with amber bulbs. Markings were the guide 4 on the one end, and the other end had an SAE-PI 68. The rear was red lenses. Markings on the front and back. This was used both in 68, 69. 68 rear deck, or rear end. Backup lights were down below the bumpers. All 4 lights were the same in 68. Guide 19, DB 68 embossed. There you can see the markings on the bottom of it. Backup lights below the bumpers, markings on them. '68 coupe had a rectangular white lens interior light on the kind of the halo panel there along the side. Convertible had a light off to the side by the hinges where the rear deck popped up. License plate light, guide marking on it was above the plate. 69 side marker lights changed a little bit. Front one was amber with a clear bulb rather than clear with an amber bulb as in 68. Still had the markings front and back. Just an amber lens rather than clear for 69 was. 69 backup lights moved up into the tail lights. The outside lights were the same as the 68. The inner lights then got the clear lens for the backup. There's the tail for the 69. There's the backup for the 69. Kind of see the markings. It looks like they basically just cut a hole in the center of the tail light and put the clear lens in the middle. In 1970, the front turn signals and marker lights changed a little bit. Park lights were a lot bigger, clear lens with an amber bulb. Markings at the top. Some markings along the side had some numbers embossed in the plastic. Side markers 70 were a little bigger than the 68, 69s. Front side marker had a left or right embossed in them right here at the one end of the numbers. '70 through '73 rear side markers.
Hey, can I interrupt?
Pardon me?
Sorry.
'70 tail lights. Somebody needs to mute their mic. 1970, the markings were changed a little bit. The guide, the 19 SAE ST 170 was put on earlier ones, just had like 69 or 68 on them. Had circular rings around the outside where the other ones had like kind of a honeycomb style around the outside. You can kind of see the difference here. In 1971, the backup lights changed from a circular style to a kind of a rectangular pattern in the center of the clear lens there. Happened around bin 8071. I did once judge a car that had one of each in the back. Lettering 71, they changed the 171. Number inside the ring at the top. License plate, Guide 35, SAEL 66 embossed in the lens, as it was earlier. 72, we went from a clear lens to the yellow lens. Also, the headlights changed in 72, had the T3 in kind of some squares at the bottom, guide underneath it. Seal beam was at the bottom, kind of on a curve around the bottom edge. The park lights, as I said, it went to an amber lens with a clear bulb. Maybe some very early 71s. Very late 71s may have had the amber lenses. I put down, yeah, maybe some very late 71s. You can see the markings. The side marker light. Rear side marker, red lens. 73 went to a smaller park marker light in the front. Yeah.
Got two questions.
Yeah.
Bob Kinstry, curious, C1 tail lights held in with slotted screws. C2 seemed to be used Phillips screws. When, year was that transition from slotted to Phillips?
I can't answer that right off my head. Maybe somebody out there has got the answer. Can anybody help out there? I probably got it somewhere if I dig it up, but I don't have it on top of my head. I'm sorry.
Second question for Bob Hen. Is there any reason why Chevy went from electric motor headlights to vacuum in 68? I've heard numerous answers on that. One, to just piss everybody off, and two, engineering. So I really don't know.
Yeah, there's a lot of theories on that, but I don't. I guess you need to find an engineer to find that one out.
That 71 was most likely mine. It was car 8391. Is Gus
Do what now?
Gus said that 71 was most likely mine. It was car 8391. Excuse me.
I don't remember what I remember. It was kind of the one I remember was kind of the burnt orange color car, and it had one of each in the back. But I've seen a couple like that. So yeah, that's not uncommon for the backup lights to be one of each in right around that 8,000 range. Did anybody come up with when the screws changed from straight to Phillips? I'm not real sure. I'd have to go back and do some real digging for that.
Okay.
Mike, this is Jerry.
Yeah.
I would think that would probably change in 61 when they went to the inset lights and on up, up to 60, you had the full red taillight in the back and it still had slot headed screws on that. So I would, off the top of my head, I would think it would be 61 and up.
Okay. If anybody else has got anything to comment, speak up. I can dig it up and find out, but it takes a while. So, okay. If nobody's got anything else, we'll go on here a little bit then.
All right.
In 73, they went from the bigger park turn signal to a smaller unit here. Markings on the bottom side of the lens. Also has right hand or left hand in the upper corner. The front side marker, the little center opening became a little taller, 73 through 79 than they was in 70 through 72. Markings changed a lot through the years on these. You need to keep checking the book when you're judging them to make sure you've got the right logo across the top, because they did change a number of times on the side markers here. A rear side marker. Sometime during 74, they changed from a die cast aluminum to a plastic back on the back of them. I don't have a VIN number or date or any time when they changed. I just researched somewhere in 74. And at the end of the logo, you have an R and L for a right or a left. '73 through '82, you went to the power beams at around logo in the middle. A little better shot of the power beam logo. Park lens light, kind of a full view of it. Closer view, so you kind of see it a little better. Numbers at the bottom. Under dash, they were both driver side, passenger side, mounted on a bracket underneath the dash. You kind of see the bracket on the on the underside of the dash here, galvanized bracket mounted to the dash with the lens or the bulb stuck in it. Rear compartment of the convertible had a single light in the middle of the back. Starting in 73, a map light on the mirror was an option through 76. '74, we went to the rubber bumpers, both ends. The lights were back inside, recessed in the rubber bumper on the rears. Kind of a closer view of them. The lens, you can see there was no screws to mount them. The outside. Back up, still had the kind of a rectangular pattern in the center of the backups. Marking 74s. License plate light were off to the side, recessed in the plastic bumper. There you can see the markings on the lights themselves. Had number at the top with SAE's L74 guide 1A at the bottom, or inside, outside, however you want to look at it. Lens of a 74. 75. Rear bumper changed a little bit. The lights changed just a little bit. Now we mount them with screws. The markings at the bottom of 75. '76 courtesy lights, smooth lens in the rear compartment. Underneath the back end there. The courtesy light on the front underneath the dash. 77 with convenience package come on. You got a dome light delay, a headlight warning buzzer, an under hood light, a fuel light warning light, and an interior courtesy light. So they added the light under the hood and a different light on the interior package. The license plate light. 77, they added the courtesy light in the roof. '77 tail lights. Markings is the same as the earlier 76, 75s. Parks were the same from 73. 78 pace car. Side markers front and rear. You can kind of see the larger openings in the center. Markings. Tail lights on a pace car. You can see the markings are still the same as they were earlier. You can see the around the backup lights how it's kind of got a honeycomb shape where the tail lights have got the circular. '78, the under the dash courtesy lights, the bracket changed considerably. You can kind of see the difference in the bracket here as to what the earlier ones was. The glove box light is off to the side in '78. The roof courtesy light, '78, the same as they started in '77. '79 to '82, come on with halogen bulbs. Markings. General Electric across the bottom, seal beam curves below that. 80, 82 park lights, they yellow lenses. Side markers for 80 through 82 changed quite a bit in the front. Had markings on the clear and markings on the yellow different. The rear markers were the same, 74 to 82. Tail lights from 80 to 82, no longer have the chrome trim piece around the center section of it, I guess. See the markings along the outside. Backup light for the 8082s. 84 to 96. Still got the pop-up headlights. Went back to the electric motor. The front end, they had turn signal park lights on the outside with fog lights on the intersection. Side markers on the side. Went to the rectangular lens rather than round on the 84s. You can see the halogen marking in the middle. Sorry, I had to get a drink. Close up of the center marking. Seal beam in the upper right hand corner. You kind of see it vaguely in this photo right across the top edge there. Guide in the corner with a 2B1 in the middle. DOT lower right hand corner. You kind of see it going up and down here. It's running up with the lines in the light. Markings on the back of the rectangular ones. You can see the date code on that one, 9/28 of 91. The park lenses, the markings on them. Side marker light. Had a clear section and a amber section. Kind of see the markings across the bottom of that one. The clear section had markings across the top and numbers across the bottom. The mirror on the C4s had a map light, what they called, on both sides of the light, or of the mirror. I mean, the bottom of the mirror. Close up of the lens with the switch beside it. The rear markers, you had a clear and a red part of the lens. Clear had the markings across the bottom to the one side, and then the numbers to the other opposite side across the bottom. There you can see the markings on the red part of the lens. In the coupes, they had halo lights along both sides of the halo panel. There was also underneath the center console area, there was a light above the service parts indication to light up the inside of the basically the console box. Where you can kind of see a close up of the bulb inside the clear lens. The sun visors also had lights along both sides of the mirror. You fold up a flap and that exposed the mirror and the lights. There was a switch alongside the light to turn them on. Also in the C4s, you had a what they call a map light on the door itself, and then you have a light underneath the dash also when you entered the car. The map light on the door had push on it to turn it on and off. Had a frosted lens with kind of a green texture on the early C4s. Underneath the hood, you had lights on all the C4s. The 84s was up kind of toward the top, out along both sides because it had air ducts coming into the air cleaner. They could not put them down in the middle like they did later. 85s and later, they was kind of in the middle on the rib section of the hood. Early 84, 85 plastic lenses had like 10 squares per inch. 86 through 96 had like 6. My very late 85 had one of each under that hood, underneath the hood of it. Map light was on all cars, but the lens changed later around the 91 area. Tail lights for 84 through 90. You can kind of see the markings on that. They had numbers along the bottom. You had a left and a right hand. More numbers there. Backup lights was beside the license plate in the back of the recessed area of the back of the back bumper. They had a right and a left. You can kind of see the R for the right, guide I1 or 1Y. The bottom, it had the DOT number. Along the side, it had the GM part number. Starting in 86, all the coupes got a third brake light, and the early coupes was right up across the top of the center. The markings on them was DOT 86 and a guide 1Y on the other side. '86 convertibles, the third brake light was in the rear fascia of the bumper. And the markings on it. '88, early '92, had a guide halogen bulb in the middle. Marking was a little different than the earlier, it was just with halogen across the middle. '86 through '96 convertible rear compartments had 2 lights right behind the seat, on the panel running behind the seat there. Lenses. Can't hardly see the numbers and stuff on that. There's some numbers across the top up in there. The license and the spare tire. There was 2 lights at the rear of the car, one over the license plate and one down low where your spare tire was, and both of them had the same basic markings and dimensions and everything. They were just mounted. The one was mounted above the plate, and the other was mounted kind of where the rear bolt that holds up the spare tire carrier was. 90, 91 ZR1s. They changed the front end. The side marker lights front end changed in 91. Actually in 90 on the ZR1s and 91 on these, but rear was the ZR1s changed. Yeah.
Mark Francis wants to know, the term guide appears to be on most of these headlights and taillights. Is that a DOT requirement?
No, that was the manufacturer.
That's what I thought. Thank you.
The ZR1 starting in 90, the taillights was no longer around. They were kind of a rectangular oval type shape. And also starting in 90, the lenses on the door map lights, what they called, went from a kind of a pebble green amber translucent to a clear lens. There you can kind of see it lights a little better than the earlier ones. Late 92, Sylvania started coming into with bulbs. There's the marking in the middle of the Sylvania. COB across the top, 2B1 middle and the top. 93, they come out with plastic lenses. The whole light was a plastic light. The whole thing was plastic. Problem with some of the plastic ones, they kind of fogged a little bit. 93, they put a glove box in. The light was put in the glove box also on them. The park and the fog light on the later C4s. Side markers. Rear was kind of the same as the earlier ones. Fronts was quite a bit different. They were longer. The shape was a lot different. Rears. You can kind of see the rectangular oval shape of the rear rear taillights on that picture. Markings on the later C4 taillights. License plate light. This was on a Grand Sport. Under dash light. Clear lens again. The cargo halo light on the coupes. There's a picture of one lit. 97 to 2004. Headlights changed a lot. They both of them were high beams, low beams were in a single unit type thing on the lens on the front. Guide in the upper corner. Bottom corner had the marking right or left, I believe it is. The C5's fog light was an option. It was a little round fixture in the kind of in the recess of the opening. Park light on the side was a clear lens with a vertical lines that had an amber bulb. There's a close-up of the fog light back in the opening. Under hood, about 10 grooves per inch on the C5s. Good picture of the under dash light on the C5s. There's a mirror with a map light under there. I guess that's not a real good picture. I need to change that one, I guess. Get a better one of that. But you can't hardly see it, but there is a light right in the area right in here where my mouse is going back and forth. The sunshades or the sun visors also had lights alongside the mirrors on the C5s. The cargo area, there was a light in the corner of the coupes. There's a convertible. You can kind of see the lights in the corner of that. Tail lights on the C5s were oval. There's the markings. See across the bottom. And they were held on with Torx. I think that started late C4s. Third brake light on the C5s in the middle of the rear fascia between the tail lights. Markings on that. I believe in most cases, the markings are the numbers is in most of the judging manuals on these. Backup lights is again beside the license plate. Markings on the backup lights of the C5s. The license plate had two lights above it. Here it says that the 97 they were attached with Phillips head screws, or 98 they went to the Torx head screws. 2005 to 2007 headlight. You can see the markings along the edges of them. I know a lot of these later cars, there's a lot more lights that I didn't get put on here, but I don't have that much access to the later cars that I can get good pictures of them. So if anybody's got any and want to send them to me, I'd be greatly appreciative of that. Here's the fog light. You can kind of see the markings across the center part here. Side marker, the C6. Third brake light on the C6. Markings on the tail lights of the C6. Kind of picture of the tail light. You can kind of see the markings across the bottom of it. And there's an picture of the under dash light on the C6. And I guess that concludes my program. Any comments or anybody got anything to add, or anybody want to say anything?
Yeah, Mike, thank you for the program. Very interesting.
Thank you.
Looks like we got a couple of questions.
Okay.
Bob Kinsray for C6. Talk with Pete B. He's been taking a lot of pictures of them. Then from Bob Hen, as an FYI, the NCRS will begin flight judging 08 to 2010 after the convention. The Intermountain Regional will be the first event with flight judging for 05 to 2010 models. The rest, anybody that has a question, go ahead and unmute yourself and you can go ahead and ask Mike.
Okay, I guess.
Thank you guys for a great show.
Well, thanks everybody for coming and appreciate it. And I hope you got learned a little bit out of it. And like I said, if you've got any kind of information you want to send me, I'd be grateful. I kind of update these all the time. Thank you. Still there, Rick?
Yeah.
Okay. I'm leaving, Rick. I'll talk to you later.